World of Warcraft is huge, and I'm trying to explore it all with my own 2 feet. For every step I take in the real world, I can take one more step in-game. In the real world, I track my steps using a Fitbit, and in-game, I've created my own custom add-on to track my hero's steps. This is Solemate, and the add-on is synced to his walking cycle, so no matter how fast he's moving, it counts as though he got there using only regular steps. My main goals are to be healthier in real life and explore all of Azeroth in-game. This is Steplocked. I'll put the rules on screen briefly here, but if you're new to the channel, check out the previous videos for more explanations. This will be the 4th main zone of the challenge, so there's plenty of content to catch up on. Stonetalon was shaping up to be a simpler zone than any we've already covered. It's another contested zone, meaning the quest is split between the Alliance and the Horde, just like Ashenvale. As far as my usual prerequisites go, there's also no dungeon in this zone. So today with this video, as well as showing you how the zone went, I'll do a deeper dive onto the real life aspect of this challenge, my health. If that's of less interest to you, please feel free to skip ahead to the timestamp listed and get straight into the zone. As of recording this voiceover, it's been 1 month since starting this journey. Although I haven't had a perfect record of over 10,000 steps a day every day, I was able to maintain an average of 10,000 steps a day for the whole month. This is a big accomplishment for me, and I'm definitely feeling the benefits. There are 4 main activities I've done to accumulate my steps. First, I work 4 10-hour shifts a week of a pretty physical job, and those can range anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000 steps just with work alone. Secondly, I walk my dog around the neighborhood. 1 lap of the neighborhood is about 1,700 steps, but my dog is 14 years old and sometimes gives up a little early. On those days, I take him home and I try and do another lap by myself. Third, I like to go disc golfing with my friends. My favorite local course is an 18-hole wooded course and usually gets me around 6,000 steps. And finally, I've started jumping rope. About 20 minutes of active jump rope can get me almost 2,000 steps. Otherwise, my daily miscellaneous steps fall somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 steps a day. The weekends are definitely the days I have to put in a lot more effort to achieve that goal. With my health progress, I've decided I'll update you about monthly on weight loss and some other less trackable benefits. For my weight, I can tell you after a month, I'm only down 2 pounds. However, I'm well aware that weight loss starts in the kitchen, so my goal for the next month will be to eat better. I've done intermittent fasting in the past before with a lot of success, so I plan on starting that again. For the other benefits, I found I'm sleeping a lot better. I'm also having a lot less headaches, which I usually have every weekend, and I have more stamina when it comes to work and my daily activities. It is quite true that you usually see improvements in other aspects of health before you see the number on the scale drop, so I'm optimistic with going forward with my changes. What other info would you guys like to know about? Any advice for me going forward? And with that out of the way, let's get back to the challenge. Entering Stonetalon marks 2 weeks worth of steps put into this challenge. When starting Stonetalon though, I do make a mistake that I'll have to rectify later. I ended Ashenvale with about 9,000 steps remaining to use, but when I actually started Stonetalon, I overwrote that with the next day's steps. This means that those 9,000 steps were earned in real life, but have kind of gone into the void. My total steps taken is still accurate and all of the stats are still accurate, so I'll just add these steps on to the start of the next zone. So Solemate sets off, with 13,205 steps for the first day of Stonetalon. Once I get to where the first quest should be, there's nothing. So I head over to what is supposed to be the second quest hub, hoping to find some required quests. While I make that journey, I'll show you the plan. Stonetalon has 4 major quest hubs, with a few quests scattered elsewhere. They comprise of only 4 storylines and a total of 32 quests. There are, however, 17 areas to explore that our questing route will surely not cover. There's also no dungeon in this zone, so I won't have to worry about any dungeon fee. I felt like with these requirements, plus taming a unique pet, Stonetalon wouldn't take more than a couple days worth of steps. Once I arrive at Chromie Fortress, there are still no quests available at all. I grab the flight path and after some research, find that the whole zone's questline is kicked off by a quest back in Ashenvale. So I fly back to Silverwind Refuge, grab the starting quest, and take a ferry back to Stonetalon. So after already 1,000 steps within the zone, I can finally start my first quest. The first quest is a click to gather type quest, which means there's not a great way for me to reduce my step use. The same goes for the next quest, which sends me to kill 1 specific NPC and return with some attack plans. They then tell me to report next to Chromie Fortress, which I had already ran to once. and not wanting to do that again, I decide to be cheeky and hearth back to Ashenvale and fly to the outpost, meaning that my first run there was not duplicated. This zone's storyline has you gaining ranks in the Cromgar military, which I thought was a nice touch and made the story more engaging. So already as a sergeant, I set my hearth here and burned some tents nearby to complete the first storyline of the zone. Already with less than 3,000 steps spent, I have a quarter of the storylines complete. I jump off the cliffside to enter the mines below, to work 3 quests at once. I take my time, pet pulling enemies from range, and only walking to the closest peons or collectibles, resulting in those 3 quests complete in just under 1,000 steps. Now we're cooking. I return to the fortress, shoot down some planes, and along with my promotion, that's the second storyline complete, and I've only spent 4,500 steps. Blizzard really skimped on this zone for content, it feels. I make the run to the next quest hub of the zone, Malacca Jinn. There is no direct path there, so I am forced to run a long path around some of the mountains, and after a sick disengage over a gap, I reach the hub after spending only 1,100 steps. So far the zone has gone pretty efficiently, but that's about to change. The first quest sent me to collect some horns and hearts from enemy mobs, an easy job with some pet pulling, but upon accepting the next quests, I missed the one that popped up on this blood elf. So I make the long 600 step walk to the Kobold Cavern. There are so many kobolds in here, and they respawn pretty quickly, so I pet pull them all together and make quick work of them to complete my quest. I even hearth and fly back to Malacca Jinn to save the run back. This is where I see the Blood Elf's quest, which also takes place in the Kobold Cave. So, with a heavy heart, I run back to the cave. This time, with my goal being to whip some kobolds, there are none in sight, but I do get it done, and this time I do have to run all the way back, meaning I wasted about 1,200 steps with this mistake. I empower some allies and take a very long 800 step required run to get to a flag outside an Alliance base. With the kobolds attacking the Alliance, I return to the hub to complete the third storyline. This was definitely the worst and longest leg of this zone, but it was still nothing compared to previous zones. With only one storyline remaining, I'm left with only 2,500 steps left for the day. I take the flight path back to Cromgar to attain the champion rank in the military, and I get my first ferry within the zone of a hot air balloon ride. It takes me over to the Sludge Works, where they're getting overrun with wyverns, and tasks me to take some out. The wyvern pridewings here were at the top of my list for pets I wanted to tame in the zone. Unfortunately, they're a specialty pet and require a special book to learn how to tame them. This book isn't available until Legion, I believe, so the Pridewing, along with many other upcoming beasts, won't be available for me on this challenge. After completing this quest, there's one other to kill some spies, and that's already this hub complete. With 1,000 steps remaining for the day, I hop back on the air balloon and get ferried to the final quest hub, Cliffwalker Post. With only a few steps remaining, I grab the flight path and try to be conservative on the next goal, to get in a tank and blow up the Alliance. The movement in the tank does count towards my step total as I am controlling it, so I try to be clever and angle the tank to snipe the enemy from afar. But it doesn't quite reach everyone I need to hit, so I'm forced to drive over there. I actually get the tank stuck and have to abandon it and waste my precious steps getting into another one. Once the Alliance army was rightfully vanquished, I hearth and fly back to Cliffwalker Post to turn it in with only 312 steps left. I spend those steps heading toward the next objective and run out for the day in the middle of the war zone. At the end of day 1 of Stonetalon, I had already completed 27 quests, meaning there should only be about 5 left for the zone. After 13,098 steps, I was at an average of 515 steps per quest within the zone, which is definitely below my average. I log out knowing that I'll probably get done with Stonetalon the next day. On the second day, I logged 10,916 steps. I was very confident that these would get me through the rest of the zone, solidifying its place as the quickest zone so far. As I scale the annoying spiral tower to be surprised by a heap of dead young druids, I was met with an even bigger surprise. Right outside waiting to strike was a rare mob, but not just any rare mob, Volux. Volux is one of the handful of beasts in Stonetalon I consider for my squad. There are 4 total attainable pets that, outside of dungeons or raids, only have 1 appearance in the whole game. With Volux being a part of these select few, after over a minute of just thinking about it and getting attacked, I decide to tame the beastly purple wasp and claim him as my encounter in Stonetalon. With that, welcome to the roster, Air Miles. With the first of 3 prerequisites done in the zone, all I had left to do was the final storyline and explore the remaining areas. I hearth back to Cromgar and fly to Cliffwalker Post so I didn't have to waste those steps. There's a lot of exposition here before I just stand still and murder some orcs for my 250th account quest complete. Then, it's a quick flight to Cromgar and back before I get my final quest of the zone, to be Horde. I'm gonna give a little spoiler alert here because, although I haven't been paying too much attention to the story, and the content's 9 years old, it seems kind of intense. Overlord Cromgar essentially nukes the Alliance encampment, despite protests, as the encampment housed many innocent civilians. Garish Hellscream shows up to scold him, telling him that the Horde are not reckless murderers and he must be punished. He then drops Cromgar off the ledge to his death, dissolving his army and making my rank as champion meaningless. On the brighter side though, I complete the final storyline and got my achievement for quests in Stonetalon, crossing off the second prerequisite. With still over 10,000 steps remaining, I start my final exploration lap of the zone. There are a total of 7 areas left undiscovered, 2 of which are Alliance strongholds. My plan is to head north first for the 2 closest areas, then loop down counterclockwise and grab the rest. I jump off of the north end of the outpost too confident, and before I hit the side of the cliff, I disengage, throwing me further to my death. Although unfortunate, I did discover the first area. Now I just had to hope the graveyard was in a convenient spot. Which it wasn't. The death run back to my body cost me almost 400 unnecessary steps, which is quite a lot for such a small zone. But once I revive, I head west, essentially ding-dong ditching the Alliance base of Thaldarar, then run 1200 steps south to the Charred Vale, followed by 1100 steps east through the ruins into Webwinder Hollow. The penultimate area was the Alliance base of Windshear Hold, which left only the final short run to Sunrock Retreat. With the exploration achievement in hand, I had spent about 3,800 steps on my exploration lap, crossing off the final prerequisite to leave the zone. With a flight path in Sunrock Retreat, it's as simple as getting the flight path down to Malacca Jin before heading south toward my next challenge. I had done it. In under 2 days and only 18,140 steps, I had completed every quest, explored every area, and added a new member to the squad. As I totally miss entering the next zone, I prepare for the challenge of the Southern Barrens. But that will have to wait. Stonetalon Mountains had the least steps of any main zone so far by 10 miles, literally, with 25,000 less steps than the next shortest zone. There were only 33 quests here, meaning my zone steps per quest was 549, bringing my overall steps per quest down slightly to 662 steps per quest. With the next zone of the Southern Barrens having 2 dungeons, I'm happy that this one was a quick one. Thank you everyone for watching and your continued support. If you like the series, please leave a like below as it really helps me out, and let me know what you think about the health section in the comments below as I'm still messing around with the ideas for that. The add-on is ready to publish. It's not perfect, but I wanted you guys to get your hands on it soon. I can't figure out how to post to CurseForge or anywhere like that, so expect it in a shareable Google Drive this week. As always, get out there, get some steps, and I'll see you next time.